This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just ripped your ass.
This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hello everyone and welcome to the news brief on the unofficial WWE podcast. I am your host Amanda Gynn reporting on this evening, October the 29th. If this is your first time listening, welcome and thank you for joining me tonight. Just want to do a quick plug. If you're not currently subscribed on Patreon, please do so. For just $1 a month, you can get amazing features, some of our awesome shows, and no ads. We're also on the Apple Store for just $2.99 a month. So I wanted to do a back-to-back episode tonight because I wanted to give some updates on some of the stories that I covered last night, and also wanted to cover a story that I had just discovered through one of our other patrons. So the first update I want to talk about is the Briscoes. So there was an article that came out today on WrestlingInc.com that is entitled "The Briscoes Invoke Tony Khan While Responding to AEW's FTR Calling Them Out." It says, could we see a AAA World Tag Team Champions FTR versus the Briscoes soon? There has been a lot of fan speculation on possible matchups with ROH stars versus WWE or AEW stars after ROH announced their major business plan changes earlier this year. Many fans have commented on potential opponents for former ROH World Tag Team Champions Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe. FTR's Dax Harwood took to Twitter this week and simply tweeted Briscoes. Jay Briscoe responded and tagged AEW President, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative Tony Khan. When and where, big guy, ? Your people know how to get up with us at Tony Khan, he wrote. Dax responded to that tweet and took a shot at the Briscoes, writing, Rec Football versus Division 1. Backyard versus the big leagues. Good hands versus top guys. You get it. That was the end of the exchange. FTR are set to work with the AAA TV tapings in earlier November with Vicky Guerrero as their manager. They will then challenge AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Lucha Bros, at the Full Gear pay-per-view on Saturday, November 13th. If this is going to happen, I think this is really exciting for wrestling fans that you can get the Briscoes from ROH signed on to AEW. I know I talked about last night, it's really unfortunate what's going on with ROH, but if they can get this tag team in to face FTR, I think this would be a really exciting time. And hey, I mean, it's good for all of us all around. So the next update, I talked about the SmackDown announcer Greg Hamilton getting released. So this article that I discovered on Sportskeeda is that he actually is breaking his silence after being released. So this article is stating that SmackDown ring announcer Greg Hamilton was let go by WWE after being with the company for over 6 years. It was rumored that his online beef with rapper Westside Gunn had a role to play in his release. However, the former WWE employee has come out and said that his departure came out of mutual understanding and that he had no hard feelings for the company. And this is a quote from him: "After 6 years and 52 weeks a year, it's time to say goodbye. First and foremost, don't let the internet or social media gas you up. This was a mutual respect departure from a great company. Nothing but respect from both sides. It's business. Also understand that what you see on social media is exactly that. It's not real life." End quote. Greg Hamilton opened up about his duty towards his aging mother and his sister who is suffering from cerebral palsy. He indicated that being on the road for 52 weeks got too much for him. He thanked WWE for the opportunity and admitted that it was a lot of fun while it lasted. Me personally, I'm not sure I really believe him leaving was a mutual thing. I really think this whole scandal that blew up on social media this past week ultimately got him canned. It might even been, it was like, hey, look, you have two options. You can quit or we can fire you. Because I don't think WWE really wanted that publicity on them involving Mr. Hamilton. But if this is true and he actually decided to leave the company due to family obligations, I mean, more power to him. We wish him nothing but the best. So, and the next thing is going to be, again, about Miss Charlotte Flair. So I talked yesterday about the negative publicity she's having right now regarding the incident that happened last week on SmackDown. So I wanted to actually watch SmackDown tonight first before I discuss this article. So spoiler alert, if you have not watched SmackDown tonight and do not want to hear what I'm about to talk about, pause now and come back to me after you watch the show. So this article that was on the Bleacher Report stated that Charlotte Flair was being pulled from media availability. The article is stating that Flair has faced significant rumors backstage following a contentious segment and subsequent altercation with Becky Lynch at last week's SmackDown, and now it appears that the backlash is having a tangible impact. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com reported WWE pulled the SmackDown Women's Champion from her media assignments this week. That update comes on the heels of a report from Mike Johnson of PW Insider, who noted that there are people close to Flair who are privately pushing the idea of her trying to get out of her WWE deal, though it's unclear how realistic that is given her longtime status as one of the company's top stars. Flair and Lynch are on separate shows and came together to trade their championship belts following their swaps from Raw and SmackDown in the draft. So while they won't likely cross paths weekly, a champion versus champion match often takes place at Survivor Series, which creates some questions heading into that Hallmark pay-per-view next month. It's also unknown whether SmackDown's champ's removal from media commitments was a one-week move amid the widespread speculation or more of an extended decision by the company. The story could continue to play out in weeks along, starting with Friday's SmackDown. So, regarding my spoiler, when I read this article, I was like, holy crap. It really made me think that Charlotte is in a lot of trouble given what happened last week. But she actually did appear on SmackDown tonight, and she actually had a match with Sachi. So I don't understand what type of media she was pulled from this week if she was on SmackDown. My understanding would be if you're pulled from media availability, I would think you would get pulled from the show that night, but that actually was not the case for her. So I guess I will provide you guys any more updates that I get regarding Miss Charlotte. I think maybe it's going to start getting swept under the rug now that the titles have been switched hands. Becky is now on Raw. Charlotte's on SmackDown. We might hear a little bit more here and there as we get closer to Survivor Series, because like the article stated, WWE likes to have the champion versus champion. But I think here pretty soon we're not going to hear too much about it. The next update is regarding Bray Wyatt, aka Wyndham Rotunda. So this article that was on Wrestling Inc. Is talking about him being in Los Angeles. So the article is stating that Wyndham Rotunda, aka formerly known as WWE's Bray Wyatt, is reportedly interested in Hollywood. Recently, a photo surfaced on Twitter on October the 28th of Rotunda in Burbank, California at Warner Brothers Studios. The photo shows Rotunda and Jason Baker standing at what appears to be Gate 4 on the Warner Brothers studio property. Baker owns Callison, if I'm saying that incorrectly, sorry, Studios, and works with horror icon Tom Savini. And their teams were responsible for Rotunda's mask for The Fiend in WWE and some of the other Fiend/Wyatt family props. Baker captioned the photo with "Just another day at the office with at WWE Bray Wyatt." There's no confirmation on why Rotunda and Baker were at Warner Brothers lot, but Fightful Select reports that Rotunda has been in Los Angeles as of late to field inquiries for potential Hollywood projects. WWE sources noted that this is far from the first interest in Rotunda from Hollywood, as there was a pitch made that would have had him participate in a movie before his WWE release. Rotunda was also seen at the NBA game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Los Angeles Clippers at the Staples Center on Wednesday. It appears this went under the radar, but Rotunda was also seen at the Utah Jazz versus Clippers game back on June 18th in Los Angeles. And then also, as of tonight, or today I should say, Mr. Rotunda is now officially a free agent. His non-compete contract with WWE is now officially expired. It would be very interesting to see, I'm just going to call him Bray Wyatt because I'm just so used to saying that. It would be interesting to see Bray Wyatt actually branch off and actually do the Hollywood route instead of going just for professional wrestling. I honestly, me and a couple people on Twitter a while back had talked about this. I really could see Bray really diving deep into the Hollywood horror scene, whether it is a screenwriter, a director, an actor, whatever he would choose to do, I think he would be amazing. I mean, just giving what all he has did with the Fiend character, can you guys just imagine for a moment, how amazing he would be in the horror movie scene? A lot of us who are hardcore horror movie fans, like myself, we complain about how the horror movie scene is just awful nowadays. Just imagine when this guy breaks onto the scene. It's going to change the game, believe me. So my last story for tonight, and huge shout out to a fellow Patreon, The Crisis, because he actually brought this article to my attention in the Discord chat yesterday, and it actually is talking about Goldberg. So this article that I found from the Bleacher Report is talking about Bill Goldberg and his contract. So the article is stating that Goldberg is coming off a victory over Bobby Lashley, but his long-term future in the WWE is still up in the air as his contract has just one match remaining. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just one more match. The two-time WWE Universal Champion told Ring Rules via Mark Middleton of Wrestle Inc. he still feels like he can perform at the age of 54. I still feel as though I can wrestle. I still feel as though I can entertain, he said. After this match, I have one more match on my contract, and that's it. We will see what happens. You never know. Goldberg also left the door open for a future match featuring himself and his son, Gage, taking on the father-son tandem of Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio after Gage became involved in his storyline with Lashley leading up to Crown Jewel. And he quotes, "Oh, you never know. You never know what the next day brings," he told Ring Rules. So if people want that, we will see if we can give them what they want. You never know. In turn, it wouldn't be a surprise if the sides came to an agreement on an extension before his current deal runs out. Goldberg, I'm pretty sure you never listen to this podcast, but if for some happenstance you do, I'm going to speak for myself and probably Matt and majority of us Patreons, podcast listeners. We do not, I repeat, we do not want to see you and your son versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic for all that is holy in this world. No, no, no. Goldberg, please just have your one last match. And please call it a night. No disrespect to you guys that are Goldberg fans. I actually grew up a Goldberg fan. As I've stated previously, I grew up watching WCW, so I was a huge fan of Goldberg. But I am over Goldberg. It's time for Goldberg to not lace up your boots, but hang up your boots and call it a career. Please, 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 we beg of you. If you want to come and cut little promos here and there, hey, I'm fine with that. Legacy stars here and there, they want to do stuff like that. I have no problem with that. But as far as matches go, no. Well, guys, that is actually going to be it for me for tonight. Thank you again for tuning in for this edition of the News Brief. Also, I want to thank everyone who gave me positive feedback on my first episode last night. I greatly appreciate it. You guys have no idea. You guys are all like an extended family to me, and I love you guys. So don't forget to follow the podcast on social media at wrestling_audio on Twitter or on Instagram at WWE_podcast. You guys can send an email at realwwepodcast@gmail.com, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Amanda_GYNN. Feel free to send me an email, guys, anytime. Hit me up on the Discord chat, Twitter, Instagram. If you guys find any news articles that you want me to talk about on the podcast or stuff that we really need to know about. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Be safe, and I'll talk to you guys soon.